Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach. Here we talk about overlanding, gear, builds, tech, all kinds of stuff related to overlanding. And today we're going to be going on a little overnighter and testing out a little bit of gear. And I think it's going to be a fun one. So Yanis is a company that makes these pretty affordable power supplies, and I wanted to try one out. So they were willing to send me one out, and I'm excited to give it a test, try and run it through its paces in some form, and hopefully we can kind of test this out a bit. So first I'm going to do like a top-down video kind of showcasing the product, and then we'll jump out and we'll do some testing sort of in the real world. So all right, well, that's basically it. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so this is the Yanis 1600 watt battery. It's not that exciting of an unboxing, so I took the time to just take it out of all the cardboard. But I really like the form factor of this battery, and everything feels really stout. I'm not really sure how they're making money on these batteries because as far as I can tell, it's a pretty nice lithium battery. And there's a video I'll link down below who's done a ton of benchtop tests, and they vouch for it being quality electronics. So for all those reasons, I kind of wanted to at least test this out. And so far, just with my hands, putting it on the product, testing out a couple things, it's looking really cool. So like I said, form factor, I really like. The top of this is a wireless charger, and I'll rotate this. So here is the front of the screen. We've got 4 AC ports here. This is the AC input, and then basically we've got a DC in, a solar in. This is how you turn on your AC ports. This is how you turn on the power. This is how you turn on USB, and then this is how you turn on your DC. And then we've got one cigarette lighter style port up here for DC out. So when you turn on the screen, nothing too crazy. It's going to show the time until it dies, and then the percent charging, and then these bars I think correlate to percent charge. The input wattage when you're charging, and the output wattage when you're drawing power off of the battery. All pretty standard stuff. If you want to turn on, like say AC, you're just going to hold it down until you hear a beep. But you may actually need power draw to turn it on. Oh, it's just a click, not a hold. Maybe you heard that, but the AC fans immediately kick on. So we'll kind of see how this is. I'm hoping it's not too loud, but I'm going to test this in a couple of different scenarios, so sort of stay tuned for that. If we just zoom out here a little bit, if we grab a tape measure, it's about 15 inches long, and including the handles, it's about 13 inches tall, and it's about 7.5 inches deep, so not overly large. Honestly, imagine like a pretty large 12-volt battery for your car, and it's just kind of an oversized version of that with a nice screen and such. So I like the form factor, I like the handles. It's really easy to carry despite its weight, which it feels a little on the heavier side, maybe, I don't know, 20 to 30 pounds, but I haven't weighed that. It also comes with this nice carrying case for some cables, which I really like. It's a small feature, but it's just handy to keep them all in one place. So as you can see here, we've got a DC cable for charging this off of the car right here, DC in. And then we've also got a solar charge connector here for a solar panel. And then we have the AC charge in the wall. When I was charging it earlier, I was getting like 700-800 watts. So, at that charge rate, you're probably going to charge it up in about 2 hours or so, because this is a 1600 watt hour battery. One thing to note is these cables are pretty typical. You'll see them on a lot of different products. Note the diameter of this cable. It's quite thick. It's designed to take and withhold all the energy that you're using to fast charge these batteries. So don't swap them around. I like to label mine and keep them all with the battery, etc. So I have an area where I just keep all my fridge cables, battery cables, etc. So we will pull these out of here. And then this is a little spec user manual here. So if I see anything interesting in there, I will put it on the screen or screenshot it and show you all. But yeah, having this little bag to haul all these things in is really handy in my opinion. Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to take this on a little overnighter trip, and we're going to test out a couple things in here, but just wanted to, before I started getting out and actually using it, just showing you some things and how they come out of the packaging. Alrighty, well, let's get to it. Okay, so we've got the power bank out here. I just clicked the power button, plugged it in. Unfortunately, I think most electric blankets or heated blankets run off of AC only, so we've got it all hooked up here, and it's just me on this trip. I came out here after work today, so really just threw together a small little setup here. So I've got my roam case with camping gear, and then I've set up the side here to sleep, and that's really all I've got. So doing a simple overnighter, and I've got this laid out. So turn on the AC. Okay. If we turn on the max setting, let's just see how much that is pulling. So that's pulling about 105 watts on full blast, which that's to kind of be expected. I think if I set this on low, it'll pull like 70 watts. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's still on 100. I think once it warms up and you turn it to low, it'll kind of maintain. But we'll keep it monitored, and you can see here we've got 99%, and it'll let us run for 14 hours. So we'll see how long it lasts tonight, and I'm also going to test it out with my buddy Jake's diesel heater, and I'll kind of show you if it powers up and runs everything there as well. I'm also kind of happy about all these different ports here, because I'll definitely be charging my phone and running like a small fan off of this tonight. So this spot is kind of a nice spot to put just for filming, but I'll probably move it up closer to my head when I actually go to bed tonight. So, all right, sweet. Well, stay tuned. All right, so it was a little dark last night. Showing everything here was a little bit more challenging, so I just wanted to kind of show the sleeping arrangement. If some of you haven't seen my sleeping platform, I've got a video where I'll put two slides here, and this roam case goes on the slide, and then there's an Iceco fridge here. Since I was just doing an overnight and Jake was cooking for me, I didn't bring my fridge, but I've got this roam case here that I just didn't put on the slide and set here. I also have a subwoofer that I use on occasion that's pretty easy to pop in and out. So if I was going on a longer trip, I just pull my subwoofer, I'll put a roam case in front, and then I'll put my Iceco fridge in the back. So that's kind of what I do if I'm doing this solo, and then I'll have roam cases on the roof, because I really like sleeping in the vehicle when it's just me. I like the extra security, and there's plenty of space for sleeping inside of the 4Runner. So outside of that, I kind of have really gotten used to using this little table on my C4 bumper, so I really like it. So if we wander around to the side here, I've got these Luno Life, which is the company that makes those air mattresses. They have awesome screens. They're really hard to see through, but they still let a lot of air through, and so I'll crack these windows and I put these screens on the back. But here you can see kind of the bed setup. I moved the passenger seat forward quite a bit, and I have my Hercules toolbox right down there because it's almost the same exact height as this seat back folded down, so it works quite awesome. And actually figured out that this area over here with the subwoofer was kind of a nice end table, side table, whatever you want to call it. So I'll wander over there and just show you the power bank a little bit more and sort of my tests last night. So I just want to showcase what this looks like right now. It looks to be running reliably on sort of setting 4 of 6. So last night I used this USB for my fan and charging my phone. And then if we click this power button, it'll turn on the screen. AC button is on as well for running the heated blanket. As you can see though, the output is 0. So even though my thing is showing that it's running, it says output 0. So I'm a little bit confused because I think either this can't run AC heated blankets and I need to get a DC one, or there's something wrong with my heated blanket. This is a pretty cheap heated blanket. It was like, I think 20 or 30 bucks at Target. So it's really nothing fancy. So I have a feeling that could be what it is. But I also saw online that the DC port will stay powered on correctly regardless of output draw, whereas the AC ports won't. So
I'm kind of wondering if this heated blanket has some weird cycling mode where it like turns off and then back on, or it regulates or something to keep the temp in the, you know, heating coils, you know, not from overheating. And so if they're already hot, then it turns off, and then that causes this system to get confused. So testing a heated blanket might have been a little on the trickier side, but it is what it is. The battery is down to 78%, so I'm also a little bit confused as to what exactly happened, because it was at 95% when I went to bed. So it drew power, and it wasn't my 2-watt fan that really drew that power down. So yeah, I don't know. I was warm last night. The blanket was warm, so I think there might be something going on with my electric blanket, and it's confusing the power bank. But as you maybe saw yesterday, it draws like 70 to 100 watts or so with the blanket turned on typically. And so, you know, if you do the math on that with like 8 hours of sleep, you're going to draw, you know, 600 watts or so with the 70 watt, and then, you know, even more up near the 100 watts. So with this being a 1600 watt hour battery, even talking ideal numbers, this should be totally fine for probably 2 nights of sleeping, if not more. So that's kind of the situation here. But I just wanted to give a little morning sort of debrief on using the power bank. My fan ran all night, so no problems with that. What do we got for pull here? 114. All right. The DC port has 130 watt max pull, but it seems like it'll go up to about 160 before triggering. So that's what we're gonna try out here. We're doing all the stress tests. Apparently people have problems with Jackeries and other power banks doing this. I haven't tried my EcoFlow yet, but might be similar. Actually, yeah, no, we did try our EcoFlow. It broke as well. I think the EcoFlow you can customize, though, to maybe turn off a little bit later. So it didn't really turn off, I guess, for the EcoFlow, but oh, man.
Yeah, it shuts off at 140.
140?
Yeah.
What?
That's what it did.
Last night it was like 160. Weird. Maybe it triggered up to 160 and we didn't see it? Or you were watching it? Sounds like you were watching it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I do exactly know. Oh, geez, Minnesotans. Can't trust them. All right, well, we'll try the small Jackery. We've been throughput charging from this battery into the little Jackery because this little Jackery, for some reason, can just output like, you know, 700,000 watts DC, and it's no problem. So turn on the diesel heater, and here we go. Turning this on here. 12 watts, but it'll get up pretty high, 140, 160. But for some reason, on the Jackery, it never displays that high a wattage. It really only goes up to 140, maybe 150. So we're trying to figure out what's exactly going on, because if it were drawing the exact same on the Jackery as on the Yanis power bank, it would be just fine. But for some reason, it draws higher power on the Yanis bank. So interesting electrical engineering questions here, and we're trying to sort of think through them, and no answers yet, but we'll keep brainstorming.
So there was a little bit of a loose end there with the diesel heater, and I'm trying to still kind of figure out exactly what's going on here, but one thing I kind of thought of is if you could figure out a way to provide additional power when you're starting up the diesel heater. It seems like diesel heaters have like this warm-up phase, and once they're at a warm-up phase, they don't draw nearly as much power. So I'm kind of brainstorming with Jake on what we could potentially do for a diesel heater, because I'm hoping to actually get one for this winter. So figuring out a way to run maybe 2 batteries in parallel or something to bring a similar voltage delivery but more current, so we can maybe drive some more wattage for the output of the battery. I don't know. I'm going to test out some different things, but just kind of wanted to tie that up a little bit at the end there. It sounds like a lot of people struggle to sort of get one of these portable battery banks to run a diesel heater, and there's got to be a way to do it without just connecting this up to like a 12-volt battery. So I think that's kind of the ideal. Like, you would just connect this straight to some form of battery power, because once it's warmed up, it really doesn't draw that much. But I think one of these little portable batteries can do it too. You just got to get a little savvy. So. So we're going to be trying out some of this beadlock coffee. I ground some at home. This guy's super cool. I've just been talking with him on Instagram. He roasts a bunch of his own beans, and some of you out there, I don't know if you're coffee snobs or not, but the bulk of people's coffee is dark roast, where they essentially just cook the beans to infinity, and they don't taste that good in my opinion. So you can actually kind of taste the differences in the coffee if you don't roast it quite as dark. And beadlock coffee does that. They make a bunch of different roasts and types, and it's kind of fun to try different flavors. So I've got some of it pre-ground here. We're gonna toss it in my jet boil French press and make some coffee. It's just on my lapel. So. Oh, so you're trying to see if it was loud from the zipper?
Yeah.
Oh. Is it not?
What?
I wonder if it did. It actually didn't pick it up really. Okay, show off. Fine. Fine, you're perfect. My bad. Finally.
Right.
Finally, you understood.
I had some people comment on Facebook, showed a picture of me using it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks scary with the pipe going in there and everything. I'm like,
I guess.
good.
I guess. So the important thing to remember when you're making coffee is the grind is actually pretty important, and filters are designed around the grind. So, you know, for a French press, the filter on this is really not very fine, and most people with French press say that your grounds need to be quite coarse. So regardless of whatever application you're getting your coffee for, I like to get whole bean because then I can grind it to the size I want. So I like to make espresso at home. But I've got this coarse ground so that it will work nicely in the jet boil. So heat up the water. The propane is a little bit on the cold side. We'll just let this sit for a bit. I think it's like 3 to 5 minutes or so, and then we'll press this down to push the grounds out of the fluid, and then we can pour a cup of coffee. You're good. What were you saying?
This is my quick DIY think on the spot. How am I gonna put my heater inside my tent? So I put this in there, and then put this in the door, and the exhaust right out there.
It's great.
It's like,
Hey, if it works. You want some of this coffee?
no, I gotta make coffee.
Do you want any of this coffee now while you're making coffee? Of course. Of course. Well, of course. You know what I say to that? Of course.
No.
Do you want to use this heating thing?
No.
Oh, okay. Of course. Oh yeah, you've got your Bunsen burner over there.
No, that's, so yesterday, like, I shoved like the spoon into it. I think it's great.
Here, you want to use this?
All right, well, that essentially wraps up the video. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to Yanis for sending me out that power supply. It's a cool little piece of kit, and it's really at a nice price point. And if you're gonna run a fridge or any of the kind of typical things you run off those batteries, it's gonna last you a really long time. This power supply is a 1600 watt peak, but a 1536 watt hour battery. So it's really quite substantial. If you're drawing like 30 to 60 watts per hour, you know, you're going to see a fridge run for multiple days, if not longer. It's all going to depend on the temperature and kind of what your power draw of your fridge is and all those sorts of things. But it's a great size. It's going to be super handy for a lot of different things. And that's why I really wanted to test it out, because with that price point and at that actual, you know, power supply size, it's great. It's hopefully kind of a good option for a lot of people who need a slightly larger power supply to run a variety of things at camp. So yeah, I heavily recommend you go check that out. It's down in the description below. Also, like I linked that other video, kind of or talked about it at the beginning of the video. Go check out their video as well, because they did some really awesome technical testing on the battery, and if you're into that sort of thing, it might also help you make the decision. So thank you so much for the support. I like to film these sort of lifestyle things on occasion, so let me know what you thought about the whole breakfast sequence and that sort of stuff. So that coffee was really good. Go check out Beadlock Roasters or Beadlock Off-Road Roasters. That particular kind I think was called Lift Kit, and it was pretty tasty. I liked it. And it was light roast, which I like light roast. So, all right, well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support. We've got a couple more videos coming before the end of the year, and looking forward to some new big projects coming in 2024. So, alrighty, thank you. I'll catch you in the next one.